Memphis hip-hop just got set on fire, and this time the tension is impossible to ignore. Blac Youngsta has officially called out Yo Gotti in a heated exchange that's sending shockwaves through the city and the culture. What started as subtle jabs and quiet moves behind the scenes has now exploded into a public moment that fans cannot stop talking about. The energy feels different, the tone is sharper, and the message is clear: this is no longer business as usual. For years, Yo Gotti has been seen as a pillar of Memphis, a boss who helped shape the city's sound and put countless artists on the map. Blac Youngsta, once closely connected to that same circle, now appears ready to break the silence and challenge the narrative everyone thought they understood. The question is, what really went wrong, and why is it coming out now? Sources say this exchange isn't just about ego or clout. It's about loyalty, power, and respect in a city where every move is remembered and every word carries weight. Fans are already dissecting lyrics, old interviews, and past moments, trying to connect the dots and figure out what led to this boiling point. And here's the wild part: this may only be the beginning. With both sides deeply rooted in Memphis and the streets watching closely, one response could change everything. Stay locked in, because once you hear what was really said and what it means for both camps, you'll understand why this moment could redefine Memphis hip-hop forever. The moment Blac Youngsta decided to speak up publicly, the entire Memphis hip-hop scene felt the shift. This wasn't a random outburst or a clout-driven rant. The tone of his words suggested built-up frustration, years of unresolved tension finally spilling into the open. For fans who followed both artists closely, this moment felt inevitable, but still shocking when it finally happened. To understand why this exchange matters so much, you have to look back at the history between Blac Youngsta and Yo Gotti. At one point, their relationship symbolized unity in Memphis. Yo Gotti, already established as a heavyweight in the industry, played a major role in helping elevate Blac Youngsta's career. Through CMG, Youngsta gained visibility, resources, and a powerful platform that many artists could only dream of. For a long time, the loyalty appeared solid. But behind the scenes, things weren't as smooth as they looked on camera. Insiders have long whispered about tension brewing quietly: creative differences, business disagreements, and unspoken power struggles. In Memphis, respect isn't just given because of success, it's earned daily through actions. As Blac Youngsta's profile grew, so did questions about autonomy, recognition, and control. Was he being allowed to evolve as an artist, or was he being boxed into a role that no longer fit who he was becoming? The hip-hop industry is full of stories where mentorship turns into rivalry, especially when money and influence enter the picture. And Memphis is no exception. Blac Youngsta began making moves that signaled independence, collaborating outside familiar circles, shifting his sound, and asserting his voice more aggressively in interviews and music. To some, this looked like growth. To others, it looked like rebellion. Yo Gotti, known for his calculated approach and business-first mindset, stayed mostly silent as rumors circulated. That silence, however, may have spoken louder than words. In hip-hop culture, silence can be interpreted as power or as dismissal. And for someone like Blac Youngsta, who thrives on energy and recognition, that lack of acknowledgement may have felt like a slap in the face. As time passed, fans noticed fewer public appearances together. No joint interviews. No visible support online. What once looked like brotherhood now looked like distance. Still, neither side addressed it directly, allowing speculation to grow unchecked. Every lyric, every tweet, every unfollow became potential evidence in the court of public opinion. Then came the exchange that changed everything. Blac Youngsta's call-out wasn't vague. It carried intent. He didn't just hint at issues. He challenged the image, the authority, and the story fans had been fed for years. The way he spoke suggested betrayal, not just disagreement. And betrayal cuts deeper than business disputes. It hits at loyalty, at trust, at personal bonds that once felt unbreakable. Memphis reacted instantly. Social media lit up with divided opinions. Some fans stood firmly behind Yo Gotti, pointing to his long track record of success, discipline, and leadership. Others rallied behind Blac Youngsta, praising him for speaking his truth and refusing to stay silent any longer. In a city where reputation is everything, choosing sides isn't just about music. It's about identity. What made this situation even more intense was the timing. Memphis hip-hop is currently under a national spotlight, with increased attention from labels, media, and fans worldwide. Any internal conflict risks becoming a spectacle, potentially impacting not just the artists involved, but the city's image as a whole. That pressure adds weight to every word exchanged. Industry observers began asking the uncomfortable questions. Was Blac Youngsta being pushed out? Did he feel replaced or undervalued? Or was this a strategic move to break free from a shadow that had grown too large? On the other side, was Yo Gotti maintaining boundaries as a CEO, or was he failing to address issues before they reached a boiling point? There's also the street element, something outsiders often overlook. In Memphis, relationships are deeply tied to real-life connections beyond the studio. When artists fall out, it's rarely just entertainment. It affects crews, alliances, and long-standing networks. That's why this exchange feels heavier than typical rap beef. The stakes are real, and everyone involved knows it. As clips from Blac Youngsta's statements continued to circulate, fans revisited old moments with new eyes. Lyrics that once seemed harmless now sounded like warnings. Interviews that felt casual suddenly appeared loaded with tension. The narrative was being rewritten in real time, and neither side seemed eager to slow it down. Still, Yo Gotti remained publicly reserved. No immediate response. No heated rebuttal. Just silence again. And that silence only fueled speculation further. Was he preparing a calculated response? Or did he believe addressing it would only give the situation more oxygen? One thing was clear. The bridge between them was no longer intact. This wasn't about one argument or one disrespectful moment. It was the result of years of unspoken issues finally colliding under the spotlight. And once that happens, there's no going back to how things were. Even if words are taken back, the truth has already been exposed. As Memphis watches closely, everyone is waiting for the next move. Will Yo Gotti respond and shut everything down? Will Blac Youngsta double down and reveal more details? Or will this escalate into something that reshapes alliances across the city? Because if there's one thing history has shown, it's this. When Memphis hip-hop tensions reach this level, the aftermath is never quiet. As the silence from Yo Gotti stretched on, the pressure around the situation intensified. In hip-hop, especially in a city like Memphis, silence is rarely neutral. It becomes a statement on its own. For Blac Youngsta, every passing day without a response seemed to validate his frustration, as if his concerns were once again being ignored or brushed aside. Behind the scenes, the industry began moving fast. Media outlets reached out to people close to both camps, hoping to get clarity. Producers, promoters, and artists connected to Memphis found themselves being asked the same question over and over again. What's really going on between Blac Youngsta and Yo Gotti? And while few were willing to speak on record, the whispers were loud. One recurring theme kept surfacing: control. Yo Gotti's rise from street rapper to respected executive has been built on discipline and structure. CMG isn't just a label, it's a brand, a machine. That level of control works well for building an empire, but it doesn't always align with artists who crave creative freedom and personal recognition. Blac Youngsta has always been raw, unpredictable, and emotionally driven, qualities that made him stand out, but also made him difficult to contain. As Youngsta evolved, he reportedly wanted more say in his direction, his image, and how his story was being told. To him, it wasn't just about contracts or numbers, it was about respect. Being acknowledged as more than just an artist under someone else's umbrella. Being seen as a voice, not a piece. From Yo Gotti's perspective, however, maintaining order is survival. A label boss can't afford chaos. Every move reflects on the brand, the artists, and the city. If boundaries were set, they may have been business decisions rather than personal attacks. But in hip-hop, business and personal lines are often blurred beyond recognition. This disconnect is where things truly began to fracture. Fans started revisiting Blac Youngsta's past interviews, noticing moments where he seemed restrained, choosing words carefully, almost holding something back. At the time, it felt like maturity. Now, it felt like pressure. Like someone biting their tongue for the sake of peace, until peace no longer felt worth it. When Blac Youngsta doubled down through music and subtle online posts, the message grew louder. He didn't name names every time, but he didn't have to. In Memphis, context speaks volumes. Those close to the culture understood exactly who he was addressing. And once fans understand, the narrative takes on a life of its own. What made this situation especially volatile was the generational divide it exposed. Younger artists in Memphis began quietly expressing support for Youngsta's stance, not necessarily against Yo Gotti, but in favor of artists having more agency. They saw his call-out as symbolic, representing frustrations many felt but never voiced. Older heads, meanwhile, emphasized loyalty, structure, and gratitude, arguing that without figures like Yo Gotti, many careers wouldn't exist at all. Two philosophies. One city. One growing rift. Yo Gotti's continued restraint suggested strategy. Those who know him describe him as someone who moves carefully, never emotionally. Responding publicly could escalate things, invite more scrutiny, or even weaken his position. But the longer he stayed quiet, the more space Blac Youngsta had to shape the narrative. And narratives are powerful. Soon, the discussion wasn't just about their relationship, it was about CMG as a whole. Were other artists fully satisfied? Were there unseen tensions simmering beneath the surface? Even without evidence, the conversation alone was enough to create cracks. In hip-hop, perception often becomes reality. Meanwhile, Blac Youngsta's energy shifted from explosive to focused. His words became sharper, more intentional. It felt less like an emotional outburst and more like a calculated stand. That evolution caught people off guard. This wasn't someone crashing out. This was someone drawing a line. Memphis streets paid attention. Promoters grew cautious. Collaborators hesitated. Not because they expected violence, but because uncertainty disrupts momentum. In a tight-knit scene, nobody wants to be caught on the wrong side of a conflict that hasn't fully revealed itself yet. Still, the tension refused to die down. At the center of it all sat one unanswered question. Can this be resolved privately, or has it already gone too far? Once grievances go public, pride becomes a major obstacle. Even if both sides recognize mistakes, backing down can look like weakness, something neither Blac Youngsta nor Yo Gotti can afford in their respective positions. Some believe Yo Gotti's silence is temporary, a pause before a definitive move. Others believe he has already moved on, choosing to let actions speak louder than words. But in hip-hop, absence doesn't erase conflict. It leaves it unresolved, lingering, waiting. Blac Youngsta, on the other hand, appears ready for whatever comes next. Whether it's a response, a fallout, or a complete separation, he seems committed to owning his story, regardless of the consequences. That resolve resonates with fans who value authenticity above all else. As Memphis watches this unfold, the situation has become bigger than two artists. It's now a conversation about power dynamics, loyalty versus independence, and how much an artist owes the system that helped build them. History shows that moments like this often define careers. Some artists emerge stronger, liberated by honesty. Others face backlash, isolation, or industry pushback. The outcome depends not just on who's right, but on who plays the long game better. And that's where things stand, at a crossroads. No official reconciliation. No public response. Just tension hanging heavy over Memphis, waiting for the next move. Because one statement, one track, or one interview could tilt everything in a new direction. And if this situation escalates any further, it won't just rewrite relationships, it could reshape the future of Memphis hip-hop itself. As the tension continued to hang over Memphis, it became clear that this situation would not fade quietly into the background. Too many emotions had been exposed, too many lines had been crossed, even without direct insults or explicit threats. The damage wasn't loud, but it was deep. And in hip-hop, especially in a city like Memphis, deep wounds don't heal without consequences. Eventually, the conversation shifted from if Yo Gotti would respond to how he would respond. Those closest to him understood one thing: whatever move he made next would be deliberate. Yo Gotti has never been known for impulsive reactions. His power has always come from patience, positioning, and timing. That same approach built CMG into a dominant force, and it's the same approach he appears to be using now. But strategy doesn't stop public perception from forming. By this point, Blac Youngsta had already succeeded in one major way. He forced the conversation. No matter how controlled or silent the opposing side remained, the narrative was out in the open. Fans, media, and industry insiders were all asking questions that had never been asked so loudly before. And once questions exist, answers eventually follow, whether spoken or not. What became obvious was that reconciliation, if it were ever possible, would require humility on both sides, something rarely rewarded in hip-hop culture. For Blac Youngsta, walking anything back could be seen as betrayal of his own truth. For Yo Gotti, engaging too deeply could undermine the authority he's spent years building. Both men were trapped by their positions. Memphis itself felt divided. Not violently, not publicly, but emotionally. People who had grown up watching this partnership unfold felt like they were witnessing the end of an era. The mentor-artist dynamic that once represented unity now symbolized the risks that come with power imbalances. Younger artists watched closely, learning lessons they'd carry into their own careers. Older figures reflected quietly, recognizing how familiar this story felt. History repeats itself in hip-hop more than people like to admit. At some point, Yo Gotti finally made subtle moves that many interpreted as his response. Not a direct call-out, not a public rant, but quiet actions, shifting focus, reinforcing his brand, moving forward without addressing the noise. To his supporters, this was strength. To critics, it felt like avoidance. Either way, the message was clear. He wasn't going to play the game on anyone else's terms. Blac Youngsta, meanwhile, leaned fully into independence. His tone changed again, not louder, but steadier. The anger gave way to resolve. He began positioning himself not as someone seeking validation, but as someone reclaiming ownership of his path. That shift mattered. It told fans this wasn't about destroying someone else. It was about defining himself. And that distinction may ultimately decide how history remembers this moment. Because when the dust settles, hip-hop rarely judges situations based on emotion alone. It looks at outcomes. Who grew? Who stalled? Who adapted? And who let pride stand in the way of progress? The long-term impact of this exchange will likely extend far beyond these two names. Labels, artists, and executives are watching carefully. Conversations about artist autonomy, loyalty, and transparency are becoming harder to ignore. Even if nothing changes immediately, seeds have been planted, and seeds always grow eventually. For Memphis, the stakes feel especially high. The city has fought hard to be recognized not just for talent, but for structure and unity. Internal fractures threaten that image, even if they're handled quietly. But they also present an opportunity, a chance to evolve, to learn, and to redefine what success looks like moving forward. As for Blac Youngsta and Yo Gotti, their paths now seem permanently altered. Whether they ever speak directly again remains uncertain. Whether respect can exist without reconciliation is another unanswered question. But one thing is undeniable: things will never return to how they were. And maybe that's the point. Some chapters aren't meant to be continued. They're meant to be closed, even if the ending feels unresolved. Growth often comes from discomfort, and truth rarely arrives without conflict. What matters most is what comes next, not just for these two artists, but for everyone watching from the sidelines. In hip-hop, legacies aren't built on silence or noise alone. They're built on decisions made under pressure. And this moment, this heated exchange, this public fracture, will be remembered as one of those defining crossroads. Memphis is still standing. The culture is still moving. And while alliances may shift and stories may change, the city's voice remains strong. This wasn't just a call out. This was a turning point. Now it's your turn. This situation has sparked one of the most intense conversations Memphis hip-hop has seen in years, and we want to hear exactly where you stand. Do you believe Blac Youngsta was right to finally speak up? Or do you think Yo Gotti handled this the smart way by staying silent and moving strategically? There's no simple answer, and that's what makes this moment so important. Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. Don't just pick a side, explain why. Was this about loyalty, business, respect, or something deeper that fans haven't fully seen yet? If you've been following Memphis hip-hop for a long time, your perspective matters, because history gives context that headlines can't. If this video helped you understand the situation beyond the surface-level drama, make sure you hit the like button. It lets us know you want deeper breakdowns, not just viral clips. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next, because this story is far from over. We're committed to covering hip-hop honestly, no bias, no shortcuts, just the full picture as it unfolds. More updates, reactions, and exclusive breakdowns are coming, and you'll want to be here when the next move is made. Share this video with someone who really knows the culture, because this conversation deserves more than silence. Stay locked in, hip-hop history is being written in real time.